Today, we're going to walk through a story that is just profoundly difficult. It's about a courtroom, a father, and a testimony that would go on to seal his own son's fate. The tension in that room, it was so heavy you could feel it, like no one could even breathe. But this story isn't just about the verdict. It's really about all the moments that led up to it, and the absolutely impossible choice one man had to make right there on the witness stand. So, picture the scene. You've got the judge, a jury watching every move, and a witness being sworn in. But this isn't just any witness. This is the defendant's father. And as he sits down, a heavy silence just blankets the room. Everyone is waiting, wondering what on earth he is about to say. Things start off just like you'd expect. Simple questions, the basics. But even with these formalities, you can just feel the tension. The witness, Stephen Tiseka, his hands are visibly trembling in his lap as he speaks.
And there it is. That confirmation just sends this uncomfortable shift through the entire courtroom. It's official now. A father is about to testify against his own son.
Now here's where things take a turn you might not expect. The prosecutor doesn't just jump right into the crime. No, instead, he starts digging into a past that's been buried for decades, a past that gives this tragic context to everything that's about to unfold.
That question just hangs there in the air. It's so unexpected, so personal, and it immediately pulls the focus away from the crime and all the way back to the very beginning of the defendant's life. And the answer, it's just a number, but wow, it is a shocking one. 14. The father clarifies. 14, maybe 15. He was a child himself, a kid, faced with the reality of becoming a parent. And if you thought 14 was shocking, well, the next thing he says sends this audible murmur through the gallery. The mother was only 13. So the foundation of this whole story, it's a tragedy that started decades ago. How could they? They were just kids themselves. So they made this incredibly difficult decision to have him adopted, really hoping to give him a better life, a life they just weren't equipped to provide. Years later, when the son turned 18, they actually did reconnect. But this wasn't some storybook reunion. After that initial curiosity about his origins faded, the relationship got really strained, almost transactional. The father testified that pretty soon, the calls were mostly just about one thing: money. And all of that, it brings us to the day everything just completely fell apart, October 7th, 2019. So now the testimony shifts from the distant past to the immediate, frantic moments leading right up to this trial. The father's at work, and his phone rings 3 times. Each call from his son gets more and more alarming. The first one is vague, I messed up. The second one, way more ominous. I did something I can't undo. And then came that third call. The father said he didn't even believe it at first. His son apparently had a history of exaggerating, of telling these wild stories. So his first instinct was just disbelief, a total denial of a reality that was just too horrific to even consider. But it wasn't a story. We've now reached the absolute core of the father's testimony. This is the moment that silenced the entire courtroom and really defined the trial. The confession. So the prosecutor asks the question. It's a simple question, really. But everyone in that room, they knew the answer was about to change everything. The entire case was hanging on these next few words. The father starts to recount what his son said, and the words are just cold, chilling. He said 2 people were gone, and that they wouldn't be coming back. But that wasn't even the worst part. And then, those 3 words, the 3 words every parent on earth prays they will never, ever hear from their child. I'm a killer. You could hear gasps across the room. It was so stark, so direct, and just absolutely horrifying. What's almost as shocking as the confession itself was how his son acted. The prosecutor asked, did he sound remorseful? And the father's answer was a hard no. Not even a little, he said. He described his son talking about the murders with zero emotion, like he was just recounting the plot of a movie. After a testimony like that, there really wasn't much doubt left in anyone's mind. The evidence was overwhelming, and the father's words had painted this devastating, undeniable picture. The trial was moving towards its inevitable conclusion. The judge went over every single detail, all the evidence, all the testimony, and when the moment finally came,
The words fell on that frozen courtroom, a sentence of death.
And what followed? Nothing. Not a whisper, not a sob, not a single sound. Just this heavy, profound, absolute silence that seemed to suck all the air and emotion right out of the room.
And in that silence, you can imagine all eyes eventually turning back to the one man whose testimony had been so critical, Stephen Teseka, the father, just staring at the floor, broken, defeated, and completely, utterly alone with the weight of what he just had to do.
This whole story, it just leaves you with this deeply unsettling question. In a situation this horrific, what is a parent's ultimate duty? Is it to their child, no matter what?
Today, we're going to walk through a story that is just profoundly difficult. It's about a courtroom, a